Hello, we are back with another in real life video covering Fallout Season 2, the TV show. This is Season 2, Episode 5. We're at the beyond the halfway mark of the season. There's 8 episodes in total this time, which I think there were as well last time. Anyway, this one was a really good one. This is probably my favorite episode so far, but it also got me to thinking about how was Season 1 structured, and I can't help but wonder, are we following a similar pattern wherein the latter half of a season is going to have really wild stuff popping off, right? Because we're getting some wild stuff popping off. Some wild stuff is popping off, which isn't to say that the Brotherhood situation at the end of the last episode, wherein they're basically going full on civil war, at least amongst these chapters. That was definitely some big deal stuff, but that was more so on a world building end. You know, we didn't have that many amazing, like, character development areas that we had in this one. Certainly, this was a banger of an episode. I'll just say it right now. This was a banger of an episode. Anyway, let's get on to it. I'll pop open my old handy dandy notebook here. Season 2, Episode 5, The Wrangler, named after the atomic Wrangler, where the episode ends with Lucy and Cooper Howard the Ghoul. Interestingly, it's not actually featured much as a set piece itself. They're just kind of in there, and I don't even think they call it by name, the atomic Wrangler. You can see the sign, and a lot of people who've played the games, I'm sure will know, yeah, this is the Atomic Wrangler. That's what the name is. You know, they're in Freeside. It makes perfect sense. But as far as people who haven't played the games, there's little exposition for them, but I don't think they need any, right? I don't think they need any. I don't think you need to explain that stuff. If anything, it's a fun treat for people who get really invested in the world, and then they can check a wiki, right? Or they can watch some video on YouTube or listen to a podcast or something like that, which will explain it well enough. Anyway, we begin with what ultimately ended up being a fairly inconsequential scene at the end of last episode. Right? It was just like a big action moment. Or not even that much, but a big special effects moment, I guess, wherein we get to see not one, not two, but 3 Deathclaws pop out. In some ways, their appearance and presence there is very important to the story and where everything has progressed and all of that. That is important in some form or another, but it hasn't quite revealed itself. Nonetheless, This episode is full of meat and potatoes. Following this, we have Lucy and the Ghoul run away from these 3 Deathclaws. There's a fun moment. She's like, "Oh, do you got any more drugs? What weapon should I use for taking these on?" Cooper is like, "Oh, do you got a rocket launcher in that bag?" Which, you know, you could. In the world of Fallout, if you're a vault dweller, sometimes you have a rocket launcher wherever you keep your rocket launcher. Wherever in bag space or hammer space you keep your rocket launcher, you might have one. Anyway, following them escaping that and making way into Freeside, we do a cut. We learn about we get the title, I think, right? Yeah, we get the title screen, and then we see them roaming around Freeside, and it's super duper bustling. It looks amazing. The set design in this episode is particularly off the wall and just mind-bogglingly beautiful and awe-inspiring, frankly. And thankfully, it's not just that, right? It is the set design working in tandem with some good writing and some amazing acting, I would say. Anyway, we learn about some management vaults that Cooper Howard as the Ghoul had gone to, searching for his wife and daughter, Barbara and Janie Howard. He went to an empty managerial management vault in California and Oregon. But we get to see more and more Freeside, some familiar sights, some less so familiar, just as it was as we were entering Vegas from the other end of things. You even get to see some of New Vegas is like the game New Vegas. It's iconic posters, I guess. I guess they're so iconic because you also see them on load screens in addition to in-game. I think at a certain point later down the line, we even see a Dean Domino poster, which is very cool. I can't imagine we'll see Dean Domino in this show, right? They've had multiple opportunities to show us like important characters from the games, and I don't think they ever have aside from House. You know, House has so far been I think the only important character. You can make an argument that like other CEOs and stuff are important, but in the grand scheme of things, let's be real, they're not really, right? They're very much ancillary characters. They're less characters and more world building, you know, whereas Robert House is definitely a character. Anyway, we hear mention, I believe it's from one of the bartenders. The bartender, was it at the Atomic Wrangler? In fact, is that the Atomic Wrangler? I think it's a different bar. It's a different bar, maybe, that Cooper Howard is in, where he's getting wasted. He wants like a whole bottle of whiskey, very reminiscent of another whiskey lover in Mojave. Anyway, the bartender gives a little exposition that these death claws are there from Quarry Junction, no less, which I think gives a little bit of insight into what might be going on, maybe. Or at the very least, it rules some things out. You know, I think that's the better way to put it. It rules some things out in knowing that they're from Quarry Junction. Anyway, he talks a whole lot about how pretty much, you know, the NCR, the Legion, it's this back and forth all the damn time. They're pretty much the same thing. At least a lizard doesn't charge me taxes. Don't charge me taxes, lizard. Ha ha ha. It was funny. And Cooper Howard is not having it. He says, shut the fuck up. And then we go to another scene. We get to see pre-war times. We immediately open with a very, very faithful recreation. I think they did it as well in season 1. A very faithful recreation of the Fallout 1 Galaxy News sort of splash, you know, where they have the rotating Earth with the rocket ship in orbit. Maybe that's a hint at things to come because, you know, it was always in the cards. It was always in the cards that Fallout would have a bit of a space bent to it. Correct me if I'm wrong. That was originally planned for Fallout 3 Van Buren, and Robert House himself in New Vegas makes mention of it. Certainly it comes up a few times in Fallout 3 and 4. It's never been a main focal point, but it's always existed on the peripheral. Anyway, regardless, we also see, speaking of faithful recreations, the black and white photo of Robert House in front of Liberty Prime, or at least a robot of the same liking, or the same likeness as Liberty Prime. We see Robert House in front of him, but it's not the real Robert House. It's the body double, as we know, the viewer. It's the recreation of, I think you see the photo in Old World Blues, right? It's a very faithful rendition of it. I actually really enjoy how they have handled stuff with the body double and the real House. I think it's very clever. I really enjoy it a lot. Anyway, we get to see Hank being a little bit of a subservient worm because he has not yet fully climbed the corporate ladder. I mean, he still hasn't, but he's definitely a lot lower on the ladder than he is in post-apocalyptic times, because he is at the beck and call of Cooper Howard, but also, you know, he's a bit of a fan just as well. Cooper Howard and his wife, Barbara. But we get a bit of a, not so much clandestine, but a secret meeting at some phone booths where Cooper picks up a phone and just a couple booths away, Moldaver answers, and they talk like that. And she has provided him with some sort of poison or something or the other, which he does not use in this episode. Keep that in mind. He gets this poison, whatever it might be, and he does not use it, but he does have it on his person, at least in pre-war times. Maybe he still has it in post-war times, but I doubt it. I think we will see House die, just not the real House, right? I think we might see body double Robert House die before this season is over. He will die to the poison in some form or function, right? But I think that becomes even more unlikely given the fact that his true identity is revealed later on, right? The true nature of everything is revealed. Anyway, there's some cool protesters outside of the Lucky 38. Amazing that in this world that they were even allowed that far. But, you know, I think it speaks to the beauty of the human spirit in such a way. One of the slogans I really liked on one of their little pickets was "Separate House and State." Very fun. We find out that what was Congresswoman Welch? I forget what her title was. Representative Welch, Senator Welch, who was at the veterans meeting in either the last episode or the one prior to that. We find out that what she was saying there, although she was very boring, she's a real one. She's actually a true believer. She actually does work to those ends, and those are some very good principles to have, I would say. She's just incredibly boring about it. She's she's like almost the Bernie Sanders of this world, right? Well, it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen, but that's definitely the vibe being given off. She is pushed to the ground, to the floor, the stairs of the 38. Cooper Howard has a moment of humanity as everyone else is like aghast at what has happened, and no one really wants to do anything. Even so, like, are you okay? Not even that. He goes over and helps her up and all of that, and they have a little bit of an exchange as well. Following that, we also see that inside of the 38, it's not just a small-time meeting. It is a very big deal. On their little marquee out front, you know, where it says revolting cocktails normally in the game, something along those lines, it says Defense Contractors Summit, which is a very funny thing to see in this place and very fitting, very nicely juxtaposed against, like we had said, the protesters and what they had on their signage. Anyway, we get inside. We see Victor. We hear Mr. House would like to see you, as said by the body double of House. And this is when you get the big reveal, or at least Cooper Howard gets the big reveal that we've already known. The dramatic irony is no more, at least as far as this one protagonist is concerned. That there are two houses. One is a body double and one is the real deal. And indeed, the one from the fucking toilet is the real deal, right? And he goes on to say that I'm not like a crazed fan. And also, already Victor exists as like a cowboy robot, which is very peculiar. It does make me wonder about that a little bit, right? I still wonder about Victor, and we still don't see any of Mr. House's robot girls, but we do see Victor the Securitron, even in pre-war times. Maybe an earlier version. Anyway, we have another scene cut. We go back into post-apocalyptia with a character who I absolutely hate. I despise this character. It's the chicken fucker guy. It's the chicken fucker guy. He is still alive somehow. He's doing his whole I'm Johnny Depp but not really bit. He's got some sort of important briefcase that he has. And of course, in a moment of some measure of fan service, and you know what, I gotta hand it to him. This one I feel like was played very well because it works very well with this pre-existing, albeit annoying character. This guy is getting fisted by none other than Fisto. Is this our first look at a Protectron as well in the TV show? I think it might be. This might actually be the first time we ever see a Protectron. Notice as well, have we seen a Mr. Handy in this season? I can't help but wonder if they shot themselves in the foot when it came to Mr. Handy in season 1 by having them be voiced by Matt Berry. And he's maybe a little bit expensive, right? So now anytime you want a Mr. Handy, you need to pay Matt Berry for that episode for having at least a voice appearance, you know, having a voice line. I feel like maybe that was a bit of a misstep as far as budgeting is concerned. I mean, Matt Berry, beloved character actor, ought to get his. But, is working on a budget. They only get so much money sent down to them from Amazon corporate to make each episode, right? They got to get these budgets approved. Anyway, regardless, Fisto is there. What a cool, funny moment, Hank immediately shows up behind this dude and KOs him. KOs the chicken fucker with a crowbar. Why? How did he know that he was there? Why is this guy so important? That Hank bothered to track him down, go up to the surface again and KO him. Is it because of the briefcase? Is the briefcase is that the missing link, as it were, what helps Hank achieve his scientific pursuits in the whatever super vault that he might be in? Who can say? I'm not sure. This, or the managerial vault, I guess is what it is, right? Doesn't this episode effectively reveal that this is a management vault? Regardless, we do see, and what confirms this is that we see cryopods assumed to be occupied. We don't know 100% for certain, but assumed to be occupied by Barbara and Janie Howard, the daughter and wife of Cooper. We also get to see the memory wipe go down, and it's meant to be a scene which very much mimics ones in the past. And unfortunately, the chicken fucker guy lives. I thought, wow, finally I'm free of this horrible man. Finally, I never have to see him again. They're killing him off. But they haven't. He lives, and it is a success. He has the chip implanted in him. His memory is wiped. He pretty much only maintains basic human function, like skills with language and motor function. He is still alive. But, hey, it's a full character reset, effectively, so maybe he'll be a more interesting and enjoyable character. And so far, we do see him later on this episode, and I do kind of like him a bit more, right? Maybe, you know what? Maybe he'll grow on me, right? Maybe he'll be so horrible that I'll be glad for the day that they can turn him back into a chicken fucking maniac, Maybe. Anyway, we have a cut now to another vault dweller in post-apocalyptia, Norm. Norm and his group of management execs, I believe, are chilling at a big vault tech building, some sort of office building, multiple stories high. We also find, shockingly, I did not expect this, the old lady from season 1 from Philly is there also with another old lady who apparently they're banging. Apparently they are banging. Regardless, they have a roach farm. And then we cut away from that. We go back to Freeside with Lucy and the Ghoul. We see a fun Dean Domino poster. Like I said, I don't imagine we're going to see Dean Domino in this show, right? I can't imagine. They have an opportunity to show us a ghoul or super mutant character at some point, who has, or I guess any character, who has lived for a long time. But so far, they've really reserved that for only very important characters, right? The only time I think they've done it, that they've directly pulled a character from the or from the games into the TV show is with House, right? He's the only character where it's happened, as far as we know. Like I said, you can make an argument for the execs, but I hardly even consider them characters, and more so world building. Right? They're barely characters, in my opinion. I could see it happening. It really seems like we're primed for Elder Maxon showing up, given the events of the Maximus episodes and all of that, the more Maximus-centric episodes. I could see, like, the end of season reveal being like, oh, Arthur Maxon has showed up on the scene in Area 51 or in the Mojave or something along those lines. That could be like the big reveal, in the same way that they had a big reveal of, oh shit, season 2 is going to New Vegas, at the end for the finale, the like post-credits teaser. Anyway, Lucy is heading to Sunny Sundries to go pick up some Addictol, which originally was 125 caps, but has recently increased to 1,000. In there, she ends up just stealing some Addictol and stealing a Power Fist as well, which is 10 times the cost of the new Addictol cost. And she comes to find out why they're price gouging on all of this. It's because it seems as though Sunny of Sunny Sundries is dead, naked, inside of a trash can, and there's some other guy who she decides to kill because he pulls a gun, and she tries to just maim him, but inadvertently ends up killing him, and she has a bit of an existential crisis, right? So too does Cooper Howard the Ghoul, parallels of character development. He has an existential crisis. He has that, but he also just crashes out in both timelines toward the end of this episode. It's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. Anyway, speaking of Cooper Howard in pre-war times, we cut back to that. We have more of a conversation between Cooper Howard and Robert House, the real Robert House, just as well some of the fake Robert House. We find out that he's been a body double for about 10 years, I think he said. We find out that the real House was watching Cooper Howard specifically in Alaska. Probably not as it happened, I would imagine, but maybe. He said that he wired in through some sort of software update, some sort of software he licensed out to West Tech, and was able to see through the visor of his power armor and was able to understand the situation there when Cooper Howard was face to face with the demon in the snow. Because of course it's pre-war times. Most people don't have a colloquialism of Deathclaw for these things, right? That would only exist either within some very dark corners or in post-apocalyptia. Anyway, we find out that on this night, this big meeting, it was a big night for Robert House because he had just bought Cold Fusion from Vault-Tec. Apparently, I guess it's the same exact item, the Cold Fusion diode, the same one from season 1 and that we've seen trading hands, the most important MacGuffin in this TV show, the Cold Fusion diode, which implies that Vault-Tec just has Cold Fusion, right, in general. Is there any reason to assume that they couldn't just make it again if they know how to do it? I don't know, unless that information is lost and he just bought all rights to it as well. I don't know. Regardless, he mentions that he wants to become immortal, effectively, have an extended, endless lifespan through a sort of non-biological form, which this Cold Fusion will be able to accomplish for him. That almost makes it seem like he wants to upload his consciousness into, like, a computer or a robot or something like that. He wants to ghost in the shell this shit, right? Robert House is the ghost in the shell. He is the city. He will become the city in some way, I guess. Because, of course, as he exists in New Vegas, he's very much still a biological form. He goes out of his way. If you ask him, I just recently did this in the playthrough, so it's so fresh in my mind. You ask him, "Are you a robot?" And he says, "No, I'm very much a man." I won't get into the specifics, but I'm very much flesh and bone, just as you are, right? He makes sure to say that. But just as well, is that really him? Is that the body double again? Is that once again the body double? It really sounds like it. And perhaps the real Robert House is the ghost of the Lucky 38, the ghost in the shell, right? Able to swap between bodies, or Securitron bodies, just as Victor is in some ways, right? Anyhow, very mysterious stuff. I'm sure we'll get to some sort of greater truth at one point or another. Anyway, Robert House brings up the end of the world, the date, the specific date that the world is meant to end. And he says the wrong date. He says it is April 14th, 2065 at 5:17 a.m. in the morning, which just so also happens to be, as Cooper Howard reveals, a very special day to him. It is his daughter's birthday. But House's date here, we quickly, in just a few seconds or minutes afterwards, reveals that it is incorrect. He says that thanks to the actions of Cooper Howard, his estimations and calculations for this end of times has been changed by 1 month already. thanks to Cooper Howard's involvement. Is jumped, is altered by 1 month. Of course, anybody who has delved into Fallout lore knows that this is not off by days or months or anything. It is off by years. Granted, House's original estimation, as it is revealed in New Vegas, and why he was able to successfully, but not perfectly, defend the New Vegas Strip from nuclear bombardment and total atomic annihilation, is because he was able to predict it down to a very close and tight time frame. It was really, it ended up being October 23rd, 2077, which, like I said, every Fallout lover knows this day. It's Fallout Day. However, Robert House's estimation of that, I don't exactly remember when it was, but he was off by a factor of days. In this circumstance here, he would be off by a factor of years, right? So something, of course, happens along the line here. Probably more involvement with Cooper Howard, accomplishing exactly his means, perhaps buying House more time to prepare defenses, right? Because, of course, the fact that he was off in the games, canonically, in post-apocalyptia, he is off by a matter of days, and still he's able to shoot down the vast majority of nuclear warheads headed toward the Mojave and specifically the Strip, but not all of them. Right? Not all of them. Very crucial difference. Either way, we see, frankly, this is just a banger fucking scene. This is them taking a look at two of their, I don't know if they're the two greatest actors in this TV show, but they're certainly two really good ones, right? Jonathan Pryce, I would say, is also really far up there as far as like acting capability. But certainly, bless up to Justin Theroux's Robert House and Walton Goggins' Cooper Howard here, because one hell of a scene, yelling at one another, saying that House mentions that the bombs will not be dropped by me or even the other idiots at the defense contractors meeting, right? Juxtaposed or countering very nicely what a lot of people just immediately saw in season 1 and just ate up as complete truth, right? Which I think is a dangerous thing to do in a franchise that is full of obscuring the truth. You know, I feel like it's very dangerous to just accept everything at face value just because it's in the TV show and all of that, when obviously the TV show is going to want to pull people's legs, right? It makes sense. Take everything with a grain of salt, you know? But House stipulates and posits that there is another third player. And he does not know whom that may be, he says. He wonders exactly who. He wants to try and find out who it is. And it sounds like he wants to try and recruit Cooper Howard into helping him to find out who this is. My guess, given what else happens in this episode, and given the fact that it's probably House thinks that it's no one else at that defense contractors meeting, which includes West Tech, Vault Tech, Big MT, and Robco himself, right? His own company. It's got to be the Enclave, right? Who else? Who else could it be? It's got to be the Enclave. Not necessarily, of course. Mind you, not necessarily that it is, we're not confirming here that it is the Enclave that thus dropped the bombs, right? Because we are only confirming or even stipulating, we're only speculating that this other mysterious party that Robert House is getting onto is the Enclave. Not necessarily that they are ultimately the ones who pull the trigger, right? That's a very important distinction. Anyway, one hell of a banger scene. We get to see the beginnings of Cooper Howard absolutely crashing out, right? And it continues on in later scenes where he is crashing out in both timelines simultaneously. He is turning to alcoholism, which he often does, substance abuse, you know, character development. Why is he so keen on substance abuse, you know? Well, this is why, because he's massively fucking depressed, right? Because he feels like there is too much weight on his shoulders, and simultaneously, there's too much bearing down on him. He is too much of a single individual having to bear too much of a load, and simultaneously feels like he is powerless to do anything, right? There are very nice parallels here between what Maximus said not too long ago, you know? I think you could make an argument that this is what Maximus said before is true of all of our three protagonists, and even our secondary protagonist, Norm, who, frankly, I think at this point should be elevated and should be appearing on like the promotional art, because Norm has such an important arc in all of this, and we regularly see a lot of Norm, right? He deserves to be on the posters and everything, right? Granted, maybe they don't do that because of budgeting concerns, because if you give Norm too much power, right, who knows what will happen? The show's budget will be a disaster, I guess. Regardless, it's neither here nor there. We have another cut, right? We have another cut. Speaking of Norm, we get over to see Ronnie mentioning that he wants to contact the investors. He tries to load up communications from this old Vault-Tec building. We have a very, honestly, heartfelt scene with Norm and with, I don't know, one of the management staff who turns out to be fairly nice, seems to be decent. There's also some romantic tension, I feel. Is there going to be some sort of romantic interest back and forth between the two of these? It kind of feels like it, but who can say, especially given how this bit ends. We learn about Puppy the cat, very cute. I can't help but wonder if there will be a Puppy 2 or something like that, or there will be a dog named Kitten, something like that, you know what I'm saying? Either way, now Ronnie brings up a very important name, Barbara Howard. So now we also have Norm with an interest in finding Barbara Howard, this higher tier managerial exec who is in some way either right now or by way of like putting out orders, pulling the strings effectively. Anyway, Ronnie hears this secret conversation between Norm and this other character. Ronnie hears the sedition and gets pissed as hell at Norm, fully understands Norm's situation now that he's been faking it until he makes it. And sadly, Norm does not make it. He doesn't die, but he does get choked out and is knocked out. They make it very clear that he is not dead by having him do a gasp at the end of his scene before it cuts, right? They really wanted us to know he is not dead yet, right? This guy is still alive. And it makes me wonder as well, as we're having more and more of the veil lifted off of what is FEV, that it is the forced evolutionary virus. Now the more casual viewer who has not played the games, who doesn't know the lore, is now up to speed with the rest of us. Granted, they don't know exactly what FEV means, really. They know that it's forced evolutionary virus, but they don't know exactly what that entails, right? Regardless, I think we have a question here. Who is going to get FEV'd first, right? Who here in this show is going to get it first? Right now, it's really seeming like it's going to be Norm. Norm is going to get FEV'd big time. Similarly, it could be the love interest that he briefly developed there. Maybe she gets FEV'd. Maybe Ronnie somehow gets FEV'd in like a little scuffle. Someone is going to get FEV'd, and probably more than one someone. Very interesting stuff. I wonder where they're going to go. How close are we going to get to like the Masters stomping grounds and stuff? Very, very fantastic and amazing stuff when it comes to the greater world building. I'm very interested to know where it'll go. I feel like we may not get a reveal toward the end, but I don't know. Toward the end of the season. But like I said, I don't know. Anyway, we cut back to Lucy, who has taken some Addictol and is barfing a shitload. At first I was like, did she really take a Addictol or did she take some Jet? Because, of course, they look nearly identical. They look very, very similar. Maybe she just took more drugs and is more fucked up, but I'm pretty sure it's Addictol, and it is what helps her resist, I think, not become fully immune to it, but resist temporarily some of the effects of a tranquilizer dart. Um, Inside of the Atomic Wrangler, we have Lucy chatting with Cooper Howard. They're having a bit of a bonding moment. And then the Chicken Man has come to bargain. He has been chipped. We see the chip in the back of his neck. We get payoff for the opening scene and all of that with House. He's here trying to initiate a trade with Cooper Howard. Because, of course, now he's working under Hank, under Vault Tech. He wants to trade Lucy and her safety, wants to send her back into a vault, probably put her on ice, in exchange for the safety of Cooper Howard's family, of Barbara and Janie. Now, Cooper Howard begins, like I had mentioned earlier, his all-timer of a crash out. He's flashing back and forth between him just being an alcoholic and both times trying to drink away the pain of having to live with the monster that he has become in the face of feeling powerless at the hands of these titans of industry, these immense corporations that are trying to dictate the way in which the world might end. Right? In this case as well, family bonds, he's stressed about the family as well. And he does, in fact, sell out Lucy. He 100% sells out Lucy. She feels like shit because of it. She's like, we were just starting to get along so well, and he even agrees, yeah, we were. I'm a piece of shit. I'm a fucking monster. He chooses to just embrace that he's a fucking asshole, right? And Lucy gets tranked down. She's down on the ground, but I think the Addictol is still doing a little bit of something and helps her resist it just a little bit, just enough to power fist punch Cooper Howard out of the Atomic Wrangler window. This is what we had seen in the previews for this season, that not only the power fist punch, but Cooper Howard flying out of the window. Doesn't take a genius to put two and two together, that these are connected scenes. However, what is unexpected is that this motherfucker flies out of the window onto a damn pole or I-beam or something and is impaled through his chest or abdomen or something like that. It is not looking good for him. It looks like he is dead, but he's definitely not dead. He's definitely not dead, but he is definitely going to need something to get back up on his feet, because it's not looking too fucking good for him. Speaking of things not looking good for protagonists, Lucy also not in a good way. This is the dark middle chapter of the season, as it were. She has been captured by Hank. She is now who knows wherever the managerial vault is. Maybe it's Vault 21, maybe it's under the 38. We just simply do not know. Either way, we get the credits scene, which is another one of these fun animated doohickeys. Someone else wrote in before and made a great point that in the past, in season 1, the animated credits scenes and the CGI and all of that, it always showed a preview of locations and stuff that would show up in a future episode, right? That is not the case for season 2. Season 2's post-credit CGI stuff is mostly just like tangential related areas. It's effectively just like a little bit more fan service. It's just fleshing out like how things have changed. I'm not even sure whether how much to take them fully as canon, but either way, this one eventually pans over to reveal the incredible life-sustaining pod that Courier 6 knew Robert House to be in. Was that the real Robert House, though? I don't think so. I think we're going to find out that that's the body double in there, and that the real Robert House maybe did die. Maybe the real Robert House did die, but was part of the mainframe. Think about this, huh? Think about that. Maybe he became like some sort of computerized dude, right? That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that perhaps the real ass Robert House dies in flesh and blood, but is somehow in some way uploaded his consciousness into a computer in some form or function, And maybe he's trying to plant that consciousness into his body double or something. I don't fucking know. Any number of ways in which that human body is connected to all that machinery could it could go anyway. It could go anyway. But what a treat would that be? Like, one of these houses is going to die. And frankly, at this point, I'm thinking that it's going to be the real deal is going to die, but is going to have his consciousness uploaded into a machine. He's going to become the ghost in the machine, for real. The ghost in the shell. Anyway, we get our next on preview for the next episode. We learned about, we have a little teaser, little line teaser of the fully automated man. Perhaps another teaser at things to come for the fate of Robert House. Perhaps. And also perhaps a little teaser of things to come for Cooper Howard and how he manages to repair his spine. I don't know the healing capabilities of a ghoul if you expose them to radiation. I don't know how much you can heal up that sort of grievous body wound. However, mind you, maybe this is how we get insight in him getting fixed up, Cooper Howard as the ghoul getting fixed up. Maybe that's how we see some of the followers of the apocalypse. We know for a fact in Fallout, especially in New Vegas, they love to dial up the stuff of people being cyborgs, right? There are cybernetic implants in the world of Fallout. Ones which, especially in New Vegas, in old world blues, and even just at the followers of the apocalypse clinic, there are some really wild implants you could get. They could potentially fix this guy up. Why would they though? Thankfully, I guess the followers of the apocalypse, if they are there, if they're still around, they are very kind, right? So maybe they would help him. Who could say? I'm not sure how he would do it. Maybe he's got a secret stash of a shitload of money and he's willing to pay him that and they'll do it for him for that. You know, some of these implants are very expensive, right? Very curious how he's going to get out of this. And we know for a fact he is almost certainly going to get out of it. It's just a matter of how, because also on the next on, we see him gasping and coughing up blood while still impaled, reaching up, trying to unimpale himself. I really doubt he's going to unimpale himself. Someone is probably going to come along and try and help him out. How funny and cool would it be if it was Victor? Because, you know, how many other protagonists, right, have been saved by Victor after a very near-death experience? I think that would be a very fun character parallel to Courier 6. Anyway, that does it for this one. One heck of a banger of an episode. Absolutely my favorite one so far of the season. I would expect we're going to get quite a few more bangers following this. We only got, 3 more to go? If we've only got 8 episodes, I bet these are going to be jam-packed with some juicy ass shit. We're so back, right? I'm very much looking forward to them. That one was excellent. That one was so good. Even the fan service was handled well enough. Maybe it's mostly because it's so well balanced out with just, like I said, that like meat and potatoes, just like that good ass shit. Some fun television, right? Very good shit. All right. When next we return, I guess we'll be talking about episode 6, right? I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm so curious how they're going to play in Caesar's Legion into all of this, because we know that there was a teaser for another Caesar's Legion scene, you know, where Macaulay Culkin's character, we get the back shot. He's like doing a fist pump into the air, and the other legionaries are like, yeah, he's probably going to become Caesar, right? It really seems like it's going that way, especially, you know, you cast him in that role. I'm very curious as to how this is all going to play out. How much is going to be left hanging for season 3? It seems like there's going to be a lot hanging, because I don't know how you're going to wrap all of this up by the time of the end of this season, because there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff at play, but hey, that's television, you know? There's a lot of TV shows with like A plots, B plots, C plots, D plots, you know? That's what's fun about it. Anyway, very much looking forward to it. Until next time, please take care of each other.